There's a line floating around startup circles. Anyone with an idea can now build software. No coding required. And I keep seeing founders actually doing it, shipping real products with AI tools.
I've seen it too. But here's what I want to know. When they say they built it, what does that actually mean? Because there's a difference between generating an app and understanding what you just shipped.
The tool landscape split into two camps in 2024. You've got code generation assistants like Cursor and GitHub Copilot for developers who want to move faster. Then you've got app generation platforms, Bolt.new, Replit Agent, Lovable, aimed at people who want to go from description to deployed app without ever opening an IDE.
Those are fundamentally different users, though. A developer using Copilot still knows what the code does. What happens when someone who doesn't code uses Bolt to ship something?
Stack Overflow did a security analysis of Bolt-generated applications and found they shipped with no server-side validation, no CORS controls, no request authentication. The gap AI closes for builders sometimes skips the unsexy fundamentals that keep apps from becoming liabilities.
Wait, so these tools let you deploy something live that's fundamentally insecure, and the person who built it wouldn't even know to check for that.
Security wasn't in the prompt, and if you don't know what CORS controls are, you're not going to ask for them.
That terrifies me more than I expected it to.
There's a psychological shift happening. Non-technical founders aren't thinking like programmers learning shortcuts. They're thinking like product people who can execute directly. One founder I read about canceled their ChatGPT plan and switched to Claude because they spent less time correcting it. At the speed non-technical founders operate, close enough isn't close enough.
Even that framing bothers me, Alex. Correcting what? If you don't understand the code, how do you know what needs correcting versus what looks wrong but isn't? You're pattern matching vibes, not evaluating logic.
People are shipping real commercial products this way. AI apps on no-code platforms like Bubble, Byword for SEO content, MyAskAI for chatbots, Formula Bot for data analysis. They're combining no-code development with AI APIs and they're viable businesses.
Viable until what? Until they need to scale? Until a security issue crops up? I'm not saying these tools don't work. I'm asking what the failure mode is when something breaks, and you don't have the foundation to diagnose it.
Developers already spend 25 to 40% of their time addressing technical debt. And AI-generated code introduces a new variant, invisible complexity that appears to work until it doesn't. Architectural decisions baked into thousands of lines of generated code that only reveal their cost months later when you need to change direction.
Not that AI writes bad code. It's that it writes code nobody fully understands. One developer put it this way: I just need to debug code that nobody wrote. That sentence should terrify you.
It does, because when something breaks, there's no human thought process to reverse engineer. You're debugging logic you didn't write and don't understand, trying to figure out what the model was optimizing for when it made certain choices.
And you can't just ask it to explain, because the model that generated the code isn't necessarily the same version you're talking to now. You're on your own with this artifact.
Developers themselves have complicated feelings about this. 88% report at least one negative impact from AI tools, but 93% cite measurable benefits. They're not split on AI. They're experiencing both pain and benefit simultaneously.
Those numbers seem contradictory until you realize it's the same people saying both things. What are they calling it? The Great Toil Shift?
The Great Toil Shift. AI eliminates old burdens but creates new ones. You're not writing boilerplate anymore, but you are reviewing massive diffs and trying to verify code you didn't think through line by line.
The gap AI closes isn't really about coding versus not coding. It's about who gets to participate in building digital products, but with this massive asterisk around what happens when the thing you built needs to be maintained or secured or scaled.
And non-technical founders are treating these tools like they close the whole gap. They're not hiring developers because they think the tool replaced that role. But the tool replaced the typing, not the expertise.
Which is fine for a prototype, maybe even fine for an MVP. But at some point, you need someone who can read the map, not just follow the GPS directions the model gave you.
There's a pattern emerging in how developers are adapting. They call it vibe, then verify. 70% already use static analysis tools, and teams using things like SonarCube report stronger outcomes on code quality. AI can also reduce technical debt through better documentation. 57% of developers report that benefit.
If you don't know how to verify, Vibe is all you've got. Static analysis tools require you to understand what they're flagging and why it matters. A non-technical founder isn't going to know that a missing coarse header is a problem.
The gap AI has closed is real. People are building things they couldn't have built before. But there's a gap it hasn't closed and maybe can't close, which is understanding what you built well enough to maintain it or secure it or evolve it when the market shifts.
So the original claim, anyone with an idea can now build software, is technically true but functionally incomplete.
You can build it. Whether you should ship it without technical oversight is a different question.
And whether it's still yours in any meaningful sense when the thing you're maintaining is a black box someone else's model generated.
The tools work. The products ship. The technical debt shows up later, in forms we're still learning to recognize.
Which means the gap AI closed might be smaller than the gap it opened. We've got a generation of builders who can create but not maintain, ship but not secure, deploy but not debug.
And the founders doing this aren't wrong for using the tools. The tools are legitimately powerful. But the narrative that they've democratized software development, that needs an asterisk the size of a server rack.
The gap is closing, but not evenly and not without cost. The question is whether we're honest about what those costs are before everyone finds out the hard way.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jordan. Thanks for digging into this with us.